Funding now on Indiegogo, it's Shadowbinders, our second chance offer to get 2 hardcovers of our classic webcomic delivered to your door. Steampunk, fantasy, and romantic comedy from Clownfish Comics. Go to Indiegogo, check out the link in the description below. Now on with the video. Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And surprise, surprise, actually it's a complete non-surprise to me. Mexicans love Speedy Gonzales.
Yes, surprise, not.
Yeah, they've been trying to cancel Speedy Gonzales. They canceled Pepe Le Pew, and all this came up during a New York Times op-ed piece that got Dr. Seuss canceled. But Mexicans won't have anything to do with the cancellation of Speedy Gonzales.
Right, because maybe they're just tired of outrage mobs on Twitter speaking for them.
Yeah, you know what? If you're going to speak on behalf of an ethnic group, a racial group, maybe you should ask them what they think before taking it upon yourself to, I don't know, make up words.
Yes.
Make up words that you think they should use. Only 3% of Hispanics use Latinx.
Yeah, most of them don't even like it.
No.
But you will have to like it because outrage mob Twitter said you have to.
All these outrage mob Karens, white Karens, speaking for everybody else.
These, people that are trying to decide what should and shouldn't be allowed. The racism police have decided that you have to use that word, even if you are yourself Hispanic and do not like it. Doesn't matter. A bunch of white Karens have decided that you must.
So we're going to talk about the failed cancellation attempt of Speedy Gonzales. I don't think he's in any danger. Pepe Le Pew was removed from the new Space Jam movie, even though the scene had LeBron James.
I can't stand when you
LeBron James chastising his misogynist and somewhat rapey behavior. You'd think it would have been a good life lesson, a good teachable moment. Pepe, don't harass women.
And then the poor actress that was in the scene got cut completely. She's upset because she was completely cut out of the movie. But they did try to cancel Speedy Gonzales, and it ended up blowing up in their face. So they've had to uncancel him because actual people that he represents or that feel that they're represented by him told them to sit and spin.
Yeah, so this is making the rounds. We're going to talk about it. Before we get into it, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We're over 184,000 subs. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and we do talk about animation. We talk about pop culture. We talk about the culture wars, all the stuff going on that we shouldn't have to talk about. We should just have entertainment without all this nonsense attached to it.
And because we do that, we keep getting labeled all kinds of names that aren't true.
At the LA Times, a writer spoke up for a much maligned cartoon character, Speedy Gonzales, who blazed through my childhood like a sombrero-clad comet, terrorizing gringo villains in the name of us downtrodden Mexicans. Imagine that. Sure, polite society tried everything possible to dim his star, but we Mexicans always fought loudly against any attempts to cancel our compadre. They're doing it again after the New York Times writer Charles Blow.
Yes, it was a Dr. Seuss. Yeah,
that was the Dr. Seuss article.
I remember his name being Blow. We were like, oh my. So.
Yeah, Speedy's 4 Oscar nomination ties him with Anthony Quinn for the most by any Mexican star. And because Mexican-American animators worked on nearly half his cartoons, so they animated half of the Speedy cartoons. That makes sense. They were in LA, right? He was the only Mexican in Hollywood I knew that never lost, him and Cheech and Chong. That's true. He does win. Speedy wins. He's not a loser. He's smarter.
He outsmarts them all the time.
He is.
But we can't have that because that's a racial stereotype because a bunch of Karens on Twitter said so.
Yeah, but you know what? Again, this comes back to the culture war and the PC culture and cancel culture and all of that. And so many things are getting canceled on behalf of groups that really don't care or actually like those characters.
And what's funny is when they do these, these cancellation attempts and they're speaking for people, be it women or minorities, if people speak up against their cancellation saying that, no, we have no problem with this, they literally call them names too or step over them like they said nothing. So they marginalize them twice.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've seen this time and time again. We see a lot of groups who see black folks being like, what's so offensive about X, Y, Z? Why are white people deciding what we should and shouldn't be offended by? Isn't that kind of the very definition of taking our voices? We see it with LGBTQ people being like, Why are you, white Karen, speaking?
Well, I ran into it with
me?
the She-Ra and with The Last Jedi. If I had an opinion that wasn't with what these people wanted, including men, they would sit there and tell me that either they would ignore me completely or they'd tell me that I was internalized misogynist and that they needed to correct my behavior because these men that are actually being misogynists would have to tell me what was right and what was wrong. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I know many of our watchers, listeners have run into similar situations. They've told me so. If you are what they're arguing about, you actually are that culture or that race or gender or sexual orientation or whatever, you are not allowed to have an opinion in your own representation if it goes against what everybody else wants.
Oh, yeah. Which is taking voices from minority groups.
Mostly white Karens.
Yep, you're claiming
journalists
to defend. Here are some tweets defending Speedy Gonzales, including the current voice actor of Speedy Gonzales. Gabriel Iglesias says, I'm the voice of Speedy Gonzales in the new Space Jam. Does this mean they're going to try and cancel Fluffy too? You can't catch me, cancel culture. I'm the fastest mouse in all of Mexico. Zoom, a little
Yeah,
zoom.
they're not standing for it.
No, this is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Here.
Yeah, really, we're doing this, the Speedy Gonzales discourse. Let me be clear. Most, if not a majority of us Hispanics and Latinos freaking love Speedy. I grew up in a Mexican Salvadoran household in which we adored him and still do. He ain't offensive. Stop it. I have seen, when I lived in California, I saw so many Speedy Gonzales stickers on vans and cars, and people love Speedy. He was used illegally on some restaurants, on the signs, they love Speedy.
Yeah, it's just that they keep trying to insinuate they don't, because some, most likely white people, were triggered by the idea that that's a stereotype, even though the people that he's actually representing have no issue with it and actually love the character.
Now, this person here is like, I did not like getting called Speedy Gonzales by the all-white coaches and teammates on my youth baseball team with him, adding andale, because I'm not Mexican, I'm Cuban, but I fucking love Speedy Gonzales.
Yeah.
James Gunn, who himself got canceled, and defends cancel culture, by the way.
I know, which I thought was, doesn't want to get canceled again, that's why.
Yeah, I don't think there are many people on here, left or right, who think Harvey Weinstein shouldn't have been canceled for what he did. Well, he was actually found guilty of doing things.
Yes.
There's a difference between being found guilty of doing something and there being all kinds of evidence and just rumor mongering and that sort of thing. That being said, James Gunn, likewise, there are all these nuanced conversations. I think most Latin people love Speedy Gonzales, which is a pretty good argument that he should be canceled. But Pepe Le Pew, to me at least, is offensive because of the way he treats that cat.
And they said that they point out they don't see a lot of French people defending Pepe Le Pew. So,
that's true. That's true.
But I mean, he's supposed to be representing Hispanic people, and they are backing him, we love him. Why are you trying to cancel what we love?
Yeah, so the French were nowhere to be found defending Pepe Le Pew. However, Latinos went into an uproar over the possibility that Speedy Gonzales is being canceled. They can always reform Pepe Le Pew. They were
even using Pepe Le Pew in a way to teach a lesson, which was this behavior is not okay, to maybe reform him, and they cut it out.
There was no reason to cut him out of Space Jam. I mean, again, he was kind of the butt of the joke. It was like, stop it.
This is not acceptable. So instead of just using it as a lesson to teach people what you shouldn't do that, no, they just eliminated it completely. So there's not even a lesson there.
Yeah, I keep thinking back to Sesame Street and the time they tried to make Cookie Monster eat vegetables. They have him stop eating cookies because his whole shtick is he eats cookies. Well, Pepe Le Pew's whole shtick is, he's a creep. But I don't know how you do that modern year without current year without.
But I think it makes sense because then they had it set up to be a lesson. But you know why they probably wanted to force the cancellation is because it hit too close to home for some of these Hollywood types who would be also known to be accountable for some of their behavior. So we'll just cut them out completely so we can pretend like it doesn't exist when in fact it does exist a lot.
This isn't the first time he's been targeted.
I was going to say this happened early in
2000s.
In 2000, early 2000s too.
Speedy Gonzales was banned from Cartoon Network after it was decided the cartoon was too offensive and reinforced negative Mexican stereotypes like speaking in a heavy accent, because nobody who speaks English as a second language has an accent.
Ever.
just doesn't happen. Never, ever. You never have an accent. You don't have an accent when you speak French or Spanish. If you're an English speaker, not at all.
No,
No, it never happens.
But they had to reinstate him after 3 years because of fan outrage. So they tried to do it again. And now they're having to backpedal on it again because fans are outraged.
And again, it's probably white people overcorrecting, overcompensating. This happens all the time. Like, people get offended about something, and all of a sudden, we go on a witch hunt to find everything that could possibly be offensive. Disney's doing this right now.
Yeah.
They're going through and they're basically taking it upon themselves to mark their own content as being offensive when the vast majority of people have never complained.
Right. It's just them. It's them marking it for everybody else. There's basically white people telling everybody else what they should and shouldn't be offended by, which is in itself offensive.
Yeah. So, I don't know, guys. I don't think Speedy's getting canceled. They talk about the sombrero being a stereotype because, nobody in Mexico has ever worn a sombrero, ever.
No. It's why is there a stereotype? I love too how stereotyping's bad unless they do it.
Yeah.
Like you can't stereotype Speedy Gonzales because he wears a sombrero, but you can totally make Snake Eyes an Asian dude, even though he's been a blonde hair, blue eyed white guy for years for reasons. You can totally make him an Asian dude because karate. Yeah, ninja. Right. I mean, that's you stereotype your own damn selves all the time. Or She-Ra Frasta is obviously has to be an Eskimo because she has ice powers. I'm like, there's a difference between stereotyping for no reason and then that they feel like they're represented by a character. There's a difference. You didn't ask. You just decided for people, which I thought was kind of like shitty racism.
Yeah, it is. It is. Again, if you're going to get offended, ask the group that you're speaking on behalf of whether or not they care. Again,
especially with Latinx.
I
refuse to use it. I'm sorry.
I kept seeing this term pop, and then you're talking to a guy who grew up in a mixed household. Okay,
because his stepfamily is Hispanic.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know anybody who's ever used this term ever. I've never heard it. Nobody uses this. Only 3% of Hispanics use it, and they're probably working for like media outlets or something.
Mm-hmm. I said it's almost all young Hispanic women.
Yeah, young Hispanic women.
They said most adults never even heard of it.
I had only heard of it through different articles on different news sites. They're like, but the Latinx population.
We're like, what the hell's the Latinx?
Who the fuck are the Latinx? I don't know the Latinx. You mean Latinos? Latinas? Oh, that's the problem.
A lot
Latinos
of
and Latinas,
other countries use gendered language. I'm sorry you want to remove gender from everything ever, but you don't get to tell other cultures how they should and shouldn't use gendering in their words. You don't get to decide that for everybody else. Because you don't like gender being used. You don't get to make that decision for every other country and every other culture. I am sorry. I mean, but you go on about everybody else, how dare you insult people. You do nothing but insult people.
Yeah, we were talking about, diverse voices being suppressed. Again, speaking on behalf of other cultures, you're literally suppressing their voices.
That's what I'm saying. It's so ironic to me that they cannot see that they are the ones who are perpetuating this bullshit more than anyone. And then telling everybody else how racist they are. And I'm just like, really?
It's a very simple grade school lesson to be taught is you listen before you speak. Everybody is in such a hurry to speak up about things and speak out about things that they're not actually listening to the people who would potentially be offended.
That's okay. All they'll do is just label them as alt-right Yahtzees and straight white men. But even though they could be none of those things, but that's what they'll label them as, because don't you know, that's not sexist or racist at all. That's completely fair because it's them doing it. But don't you ever mislabel somebody or, oh my God.
Well, there we go. Speedy Gonzales speeds away, lives another day. Hopefully.
Yeah, he better. He's fun.
He always gets the cheese. Always gets the cheese.
Mm-hmm. Never loses.
That's right. All right, we're going to wrap it up.
Yep.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Bye.